Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Room Mill. I hope you're doing fantastically well. It is Connor here, and I am back with a very special guest. His first appearance on the channel, the first of many appearances on the channel. Just Joe Football Show, Joe Wainman, Journo Joe. What are we calling you today, mate?
Not Joe, mate. We'll just go for Geordie Joe. No, I'm joking, of course.
Geordie Joe.
Yeah, Joe's fine, mate. Thank you for having me on as well, mate. You're smashing it. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, anytime. All of Joe's stuff will be in the section below. Make sure you check out the Just Joe Football Show, of course. But today, it's deadline day. It's exciting. Leeds are actually doing something, which, to be honest, mate, a couple of days ago, I was thinking to myself, this is, we got that draw against Burnley, and I'm turning around and I'm thinking, it's just not going to happen. We're not going to bring anyone in. Marcelo's coming out afterwards and saying, apparently, it's unlikely that we're going to do anything. He doesn't think we're going to do anything. And then around the corner is Dan James, and Ronaldo has sort of helped us out, hasn't he, really?
Yeah, in a roundabout way, mate. I think that was always the case, wasn't it? I think I'm a bit like you. Like I didn't think anything was going to happen, but I was always hopeful. There was the Ryan Kent Rangers. Will he Champions League? Will he then be made available at a lesser price? I guess we know Lang, although we're told Bielsa wasn't really sold on him. You're thinking maybe if they didn't sell Emmanuel Dennis and a couple more, maybe they'd have needed the money and therefore would have took a cut down price. And of course, Dan James. I always thought it was dependent on Rashford. If he was fit, and we know he went for shoulder surgery, etc., so they kept him around a little bit longer than they might have liked to, Dan James. But then when Ronaldo comes in, it's like you've got even less of a chance now, mate. So that was the I guess the situation they were hoping would arise when they mentioned, if something special was to happen, Ronaldo's come in, and Dan James is on his way to Leeds, and I feed into this narrative. It's quite I know people won't agree with me, but I think it's quite a cool story that he was supposed to come. He's gone there, hasn't worked out. Come to Leeds, and he'll just go. Psh. That's my hope, anyway.
Yeah, mate, 100%. It's. I mean, there's a lot of. I'm just reading a couple of the chats now and keep getting your comments in, guys. But there's a lot of people turning around and saying that they're not happy with the signing before we started. There was a lot of negativity in the chat, and I, for one, can't quite believe it. To be honest, I was questioning it the other day of where he will fit in and bits and bats because I'm not really still sure where he'll fit in. Will he start for Leeds United? Is he going to be that impact sub? But I think overall, when you look at a signing like Dan James, me and Brown were talking about it last night. When you get an Everton putting 30 million quid down supposedly for him, and Leeds, Joe, Leeds putting 30 million quid down. Bielsa is haggling over 4 million for Lewis O'Brien, but he's willing to put 30 down for Dan James. It just signifies how much Marcelo Bielsa wants this guy in, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I seen an article. I think it might have been about Phil here. How Bielsa's apparently tracked his career since Swansea and continued to keep an eye on him. You can imagine him sat there just adding little extra spreadsheets into his little Dan James folder that he's got going. You know what I mean? He never put that in the recycle bin. It's always been there with the hope that one day it would rock up at Leeds. Look, it does seem pricey. 25 million with add-ons, but like's been mentioned, Joe Willock went for a lot of money to Newcastle, Buendia, and he's in that ballpark. People maybe don't want to hear it, but look, I think the thing is, we're looking at Dan James in the Manchester United squad that's got elite ballers in there, that are on different wavelengths. Pogba, Bruno, they're just on a different
people wavelength. Hate saying it, don't they, mate? People hate
this is the thing, but it's
like
true.
It's like one of those where it's like where he's gone from Swansea to Man United. People don't like me say. I called him a big club last night and people got really upset. Unfortunately, that's just the facts of the matter. We don't like him, but they are a massive club. When you look at it, mate, really going from Swansea to Man United, somewhere where you're supposedly, going to be trying to fight it out for titles and all this sort of lark, maybe that step up was just way too significant for a mid-table championship player at the time.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, and this is what we've got to remember as well. Like, as much as we dislike them, look at Manchester United's squad. Who's their worst winger now? Probably Martial. He'd go our side. Worst midfielder? I don't know. Fred, maybe. He'd get in. I don't care what anyone says. He'd get in. Worst defender? Lindelof. He'd get in. Do you know what I mean? These are the facts. So, I think, like you say, the step up's huge in it to go from from Swansea to Manchester United. But look, he and all these people, I think what's been grinding my gears a little bit as well is people saying that Somerville's better, and it'll stifle his growth. And look, there's a big difference between under 23s football. And regardless of what you think of Dan James, he's got experience at international level, at European level, and in a club which has massive pressures, and he's also challenging for titles, or should be at least every season. So there's a totally different kettle of fish there, and I think he's a great signing. And whether he starts straight away, I doubt it, because we know how Bielsa works. But when he comes in, I mean, I've seen a few clips of just how dangerous he can be on that break and the pace that he has. And I just think he will open up plenty of opportunities. And people say final ball, etc. But there's one, I think, against Liverpool where he puts it on a plate for Marcus Rashford and he just absolutely, boom. You're talking like Sonic the Hedgehog vibes here, mate. It's that fast. So I think in this Leeds side, balls into the box, Bamford on the end of it. I think it's a match made in heaven for me.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. We've got a donation here. Thanks for your dedication, Con. I should also say dedicated on Joe's channel as well, if you go check that out. I'm giving you too many plugs here, aren't I? Been a pleasure following this channel. Love from Norway. Yeah, I mean, I love hearing that, the Scandinavian whites out there. But thank you for your donation, pal. But yeah, I mean, talking about him, mate, I mean, he's had 50 appearances for Man United. He started 2 out of the 3 games this season, 2 out of the 3 games which they've won, by the way. And you can look at it. Well, he came off in the Wolves game, but I know it sounds daft, but as we know with Leeds United, grinding down the fullbacks and then someone else coming on is a massive beneficiary. And I think as well, what I was quite surprised at is there are a lot of Man United fans who are actually a little bit upset about him going, and that was something that I did find quite surprising, because he seems to be the butt of everyone's jokes over there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I've been quite surprised in reaction to it. There's a lot of Manchester United fans as well. They know that he's going to get some proper coaching and really fulfill his potential. I've seen that a lot, Connor, of people mentioning, well, at least he'll go under Bielsa, and probably we shouldn't have let him go because he'll go and fulfill his potential. Maybe I seen one fan say that the move was the wrong way around. He should have gone to Leeds, got all this Bielsa coaching, and then moved to Man United kind of thing. That's what they were saying. But I think there is a lot of potential there. And I even seen, I think it was Adam Crafton who originally broke the article. I don't know if he's a Manchester United fan maybe, but he said he'd be more enamoured with Martial going than Dan James, which is a massive shout in his favour. I do think Martial's pants, by the way. Do you know what I mean? That's just my opinion. But I was quite surprised to see, like you say, quite a lot of the Manchester United fans saying, look, and I think the key thing that I've seen coming out of it is he gives 100%. He doesn't stop for 90 minutes. And I hear that and I go, well, that's perfect. That's what we need and that's what we want. And that's what Bielsa wants,
Yeah, 100%. No, you're spot on. In terms of the starting lineup then, this is where it gets a bit interesting, doesn't it? And a bit tasty. Obviously, the deal looks like it's done and confirmed according to Fabrizio Romano. For a lot of people who are asking if it has been confirmed, Fabrizio's probably, the best journalist in the world.
It's done.
It's done. I think Dan James was there last night when Victor Ott was filming him. So I think it's pretty much done. But there's a lot of people talking about him starting on the left, cutting in and striking. I think there's been a lot of his best performances on the left. Obviously, he can play on the right as well. How do you see it, Joe? I see him and Harrison quite similar in terms of maybe sometimes. I know Harrison did really well last year, 16 goal involvements, which is amazing. But sometimes in the final third, he can leave a lot to be desired. I think in a Leeds United side who are going to really help Dan James in terms of potential and development and growth. Are you sort of expecting maybe James to take Harrison's place or duke it out with Rafinha? Are you expecting Rafinha to move into the 10 and James to go out wide? What are you expecting Dan James to just be an impact sub, which I can't imagine he's signed for Leeds United to be?
No, definitely not. I think 25 million doesn't get brought in to be an impact sub, I wouldn't have said. We've seen how Bielsa's continued to persist with Rodrigo, and obviously he's our record transfer for signing. So I can't see that. And I don't think the club would sign off, or Bielsa would sign off on a player spending that much money if he's not going to get much game time. We've seen the club haggle over O'Brien at 8 million because they're saying, well, we don't really think it's worth paying 8 million for someone who's going to come in and out. So I think, Dan James will start eventually. It's nice to have a right footer. We know that we're stopped. We're left-footed, you know, so that's a big plus. Look, I know I seen your tweet where you said about Rafinha behind Bamford. That could work. I think there's even a case as well, maybe Harrison, because we've seen that before under Bielsa. Whether or not you agree, disagree with that, we've seen Harrison playing the false nine. Let's not forget, you know, in his first season. I'm not saying he scored a couple of goals there, but he wasn't amazing. But I think the fact that Dan James can play anywhere really at either side, I think you know, is a massive plus for us, Connor. Where he fits in, I'm not too sure, but I know that Bielsa will have a plan. Where would you go? Would you like to see Rafinha behind Bamford, given that freedom? And because it has been tough for him on the right hand side, I've found, you know, recently players are aware of his skill set, doubling up, etc. You move him into the centre of the park, and that changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd agree. And if there are some Man United fans in the chat, please let us know what you think about where his best position is. Any Swansea fans in the chat as well, what you think. And I think we were saying last night, Joe, that you've got to separate really his time at Old Trafford to what it was at the Liberty at Swansea, you know, where he's very counter-attacking. He was able to run into space in and behind, which he's going to be able to do at Leeds United, because not every team's going to sit in a low block against Leeds like they are against Man United. So that's going to be key. Bobby says, is it fair to say he's similar to Adama Traore, minus the steroids and the baby oil? I mean, I guess so. But, you know, I think once again, when you look
it's not comparable. We're talking, right, anyone who watched that Manchester United Wolves game at the weekend, Adama Traore, I swear, like, he's great carrying the ball and he gets into so many dangerous positions. I dare say if Dan James had the amount of game time and amount of, I guess, final third chances and getting into that place, that he would have converted a lot more goal-scoring opportunities for other players and assisted a lot more goals than Adama Traore. Adama Traore is just known for this. Like, he's just known for this. I don't think you can, unless Dan James is putting out the same numbers, like in terms of how much, you know, how many times, I guess, Adama fluffs his lines in a sense, you know, in terms of successive dribbles, all this sort of stuff with no end product. Dan James is nowhere close to them numbers-wise, I wouldn't imagine, you know. I mean, Adama Traore can take on 5 or 6 players at a time, bounce them off and get into, you know, the 6-yard box and absolutely wallop it over or can't pass the ball. I don't think Dan James, no, I wouldn't go along with that sentiment there. Me personally, anyway.
Pride of Yorkshire, thanks for your donation. Goodbye now, get rid of Costa. We'll get on to Helder Costa in just a little bit. I still want to talk about Dan James for a little bit, but we'll get on to Helder. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think, it's going to be interesting to see him in this starting lineup, but I can't get my head round Joe. He's not coming to Leeds to sit on the bench, surely.
No, he can't be. You don't, like we've just mentioned there, O'Brien, the 8 million. We were all thinking we ain't got no cash, you know. We haven't got a penny. And then 25 rising up to 30. Wow, like it came out of nowhere. But the club were right. They didn't lie to us. They said if the opportunity arises, we will take it. And I think, you know, we know that Bielsa's pretty heavy, Connor, on saying if a player's worth it or not. I remember once, I think a time in Argentina where they signed someone and he came in, the first thing he said to that player was, "You're not worth what we've paid for you." You know what I mean? So he's not shy when it comes to that sort of stuff. So the fact that he's willing to allow the club to sign off such a big fee for a player like Dan James, he's not coming to sit on the bench. You know, Johnny Stevenson mentioned there, Rodrigo sits on the bench. Does he though, really? Like, when he's fit, Bielsa will play him. He said that. Against Everton, he said if he were fit, he would have played him. He played against Manchester United. He played against Crewe. He also played against Burnley at the weekend. Yes, he's brought off at half-time. But let's be honest, when he's fit, Rodrigo plays. I've not seen him as a backup striker, as some of us now go, that's probably what he should be. So I don't agree with that sentiment personally.
Yeah. Just before we start as well, on the next super chat, there's 860 of you watching now. Thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, we're on the way to 17k. I'm a poet and I don't even know it. MRFC says 30 million for a player that doesn't improve our first 11. We've been crying out for an 8-10. Or is this the market now? Average ballers for 30 million. Yeah, I mean, it's dissecting if he's average is difficult because I think he's had a really, his dad died 2 years ago. He was transferred straight to Man United. He went through the turmoil of the Leeds move breaking down, went to Manchester United. A lot of Man United fans didn't want him in there. Let's be right. Man United fans straight away were evaluating him and saying, why are we paying this for a championship player? He went in there, had a good impact when he first went there. I remember his debut. I think he scored against Chelsea. All the Man United fans then started to have a real loving affair with him. And then he sort of tailed off, and he was only a young kid at a massive club, really. And when you've got from Swansea, Joe, to Man United, as we were saying at the start, it's a massive, massive upward trajectory. Yeah. So I think, calling him average, I mean, at Swansea, I thought he was absolutely unbelievable. Yeah. And you look at the level.
Connor, me and you, sorry to interject, are both on record, and Leeds fans will say different now. But had he have come in that first season, we'd have got promoted, bro.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
I remember we used to have that conversation. We used to have it all the time.
A really good point. If we'd have got him 100%, he'd have given us that injection, that X factor that we needed in that season. Joe's completely right. We would have got promoted. I'm certain of it that season. But yeah, when you say 30 million for a player that doesn't improve our first 11, who knows? Me and Joe have just been talking about it. We have no idea if he's going to fit into our first 11. What if it's him and Harrison duking it out for that left winger option? We've no idea how it's going to go. I know what people are saying in terms of an 8 or a 10, but is that going to be a case once again, like we were just talking about? Is Rafa now going to be moulded? He played there for Rennes. He's played there for Sporting Lisbon in the 10 as well. So is that in Bielsa's mindset? I mean, this is what all our players are about, Joe, isn't it? It's about versatility. You look at the weekend, Stuart Dallas. I mean, how many positions has that kid played in? So this might solve a lot of problems in Bielsa's head, mightn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think just on the figure as well, like 30 million, it's 25. It's 25 with add-ons, right? Okay, if he hits them add-ons, it gets to 30 million. But let's say 25 million, right? What did Manchester United pay for him? 15 million? 15 million, right? Yeah. Since then, he's played, like we've mentioned, a huge club. He's played in Europe. He's scored goals. He's assisted goals. He's further on in his development.
Scored goals in Europe as well, by the way.
He's further on in his development, and he's at an age where if there's still resale value potential for Leeds United at 30 million or 25, there is. So you have to factor all this in, right? And like's been mentioned, what did Joe Willett go to Newcastle for? Was it 25 million?
25 and rising.
Yeah, Buendia went to Villa. It's the market value. But I think as well, we have to remember that he did go to Manchester United for 15 million, 2 seasons on, 2 seasons more experience. Like you're saying, playing in Europe, etc. Man United have made a profit of 10 million. I mean, I don't think we can grumble all that much, if I'm being honest. And there you go, leading assist.
I believe Zach M is a Man United fan. He was leading assists for us before Bruno joined. And I think, once again, Joe, even just Man United going for him when he's in a mid-table championship side, like, the potential of the kid is huge, isn't it? Yeah, he's not developed it yet, but we spoke about on the stream last night, and I've spoken about on Twitter as well. Stuart Dallas, Luke Ayling, Patrick Bamford, Calvin Phillips. Were they the finished article when Bielsa came in? Not at all. Calvin Phillips was behind Ronaldo Vieira. And we're looking at someone like Dan James, whose potential is already much higher than those lot started with. Yeah. And Bielsa, I mean, I tell you what, Joe, he's got assets which are essentially, when you look at it, you can't teach these assets. He's well, you can in a way, but it's got to be indoctrinated into you in terms of a mindset. He's a grafter, but also when you look at technically, he's lightning, absolutely lightning. So if you can just mold a few bits of his game, his end product, which we've seen with Jack Harrison, I think we've seen with Rafinha as well. If you can mold those little facets of his game, he's going to be absolutely unbelievable. And every single Man United fan really is turning around when they look at it on a coaching basis and are saying he's going to flourish under Bielsa.
Sorry, mate, I'm muted there. I think the key thing is as well, pal, like, I think I took Junior Firpo was at Barcelona, right? Let's not forget, he's on record as saying, I see more clips in 2 weeks of my game than I'd ever seen in my career when I came to work under Bielsa. So I think Dan James can expect the exact same treatment. He's not getting anywhere close to that at Manchester United. It's just the facts. So the coaching that he's going to get is obviously elite level. We know that. And I think as well, you make a good point. I think Leeds United fans have to get used to now the players that we probably going to bring in are going to be around this ballpark. Do you know what I mean? We've moved on, and Dan James in a couple of seasons' time might look like pocket change. Do you know what I mean? I think we got lucky with the Rafinha deal. We got lucky with the Harrison deal, really, as well, for the price we've paid for him. But it will start to get bigger, and we have to get used to that idea. I understand why people are like, wow, it seems like a lot of money, and there's other names that we've been linked with throughout the window. But if we're being honest, Bielsa was never really sold on these. I think the only other one was Kent, but that again, the club felt that was a bit too pricey. But then again, I don't know, was he genuinely available? Because the fact that we've stumped up this cash for Dan James on a permanent as well, there's none of this loan with a view to buy. Leeds have gone, yes, we're having him, and I'm really surprised in the speed that it's gone through as well, Connor, because I was thinking we're going to get another deadline day PTSD 10 p.m. thinking, where's this going? Why ain't he come in yet? And we might still get that yet because it's not, being tweeted out by the club. Maybe they'll wait till that time just to wind us up a little bit.
But there's an interesting point as well. I've just seen as well. Could James signing mean there is a blockbuster offer for Rafa coming later today? No chance. No. There's no chance he's going. But as a caveat, what I will say is I don't expect Leeds United to keep hold of Rafinha for the next 5-6 years. I just don't expect that. I think Rafa is destined to be at the top of elite football. That's what I thoroughly believe. And I think you've got to be realistic when you look at that. So when you take all that into consideration, Dan James, in terms of a long-term plan, is actually a really smart buy, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, because his age is a big factor. And me and you speak, and we know that in a couple of seasons, the likes of Rafinha, and guys don't want to hear it, Calvin Phillips, they will move on to European clubs. And like you said, Rafinha, for me, the sky's the limit. He could end up at Real Madrid or something. He's that good for me, Connor. I think he's that good, and he's still got a long way to go in his career as well. So he could end up that big. So the fact that you bang on, aren't you? That's what the club need to do is constantly be looking at these things. Who's next? Who can we bring in? Dan James is still very, very young as well. He's still very, very young. So, and just to pick up, this is where like Vic Vinegar in the chat has said, rubbish shiny when you think an extra 5 million would have got you Cunha. Mateus Cunha wouldn't have come to Leeds United when he's going to Atletico Madrid, regardless of price, when they've just won La Liga and are competing in the Champions League. We need to remember where we are as a football club. We finished 9th. We probably are not going to get into Europe this season. Yeah, we're not going to get into Europe this season. So is Mateus Cunha going to make that move? No, not for me. There's players that have gone for cheaper price. You might even see Mikkel Damsgaard go for a cheaper price, but know that Damsgaard will go to a Champions League competing club. If we'd have had European football, then maybe we could talk to Cunha. But I think, we have to remember where we are as a football club, and it's easy to say, guess what? Guess what? 25 million would have got us Cristiano Ronaldo. But he ain't coming. Do you see what I'm saying, though? This is the facts, There's players out there that will go for a lot less. Messi went for a free. We ain't competing with that. And I know that's a bit of an outlandish one, but I just think it's unfair to throw at the club, it's a rubbish signing. Everyone's been complaining about getting a signing in the door. We do, and people are not happy. What frustrates me as well, I get loads of comments, trust in Bielsa. Yet when we signed Dan James and it don't go with that, no one's going with the same narrative of, we should trust in Bielsa. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a flip-flop. I don't know. I just don't go along with that sentiment. I think he's been brought in. It's the going rate, and I think he will flourish under Bielsa and in his system. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But look, I think it's class.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's almost like people are asking for depth as well. People want depth, but then we go out and when you look at depth, there's people who are happy with us going out and getting a really unproven Noah Lang. There's a lot of people say, well, why didn't we go for Noah Lang? Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? And you could even really put that comment towards Ryan Kent. I really would have liked Ryan Kent, of course, but have they proven it in the Premier League? Have they proven it at a higher level? Have they done it at an elite level? Have they done it on the international stage? Have they done all of these things? Have they got all these caps in the Premier League? have they got that link already with Leeds United that Dan James has? When you look at it really comparatively to Noah Lang and Ryan Kent, James, as the hours have been going on, I've genuinely thought to myself, no, this really makes more sense completely.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's what I mean. And Bielsa was not keen on Noah Lang for whatever reason. Phil here mentioned that in an article just a couple of days ago. He mentioned it about Kuna as well.
There was the I think there was the anti-Semitic things.
Yeah, there
Noah
was
Lang
that as well. Yeah, exactly. There was that. Whether or not that was why, I'm not sure. But I think it's clear that one player that Bielsa was massively sold on and has been is Dan James. So I think we have to be, trusting Bielsa in that respect. That
and Joe, how quickly it's been done. Ronaldo came in, and you know, don't you, that Victor Orta and Marcelo Bielsa would have seen Dan James and he thought, right, he's never going to get game time. Let's go for him. And like you've just said, Joe, how quickly it's been done just evidences how much Marcelo Bielsa wanted this guy and how much he's wanted him for 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like he'll have got to give him that call, You can imagine Orton said, look, there's a chance we get Dan James. And he goes, yes, make it happen. Make it happen, And I'm just so happy that the club have done that. Because the quick switch from the fan base has been a real positive one. If we go into the international break with no signings, on the back of three poor results, that's wrong, but just 2 points on the board. We had 6 this time last season. It was all feeling a bit meh. That's what I said on my video. It just felt like that. But Dan James in, and maybe we're not done yet.
Should we move on? Should we move on to that? Okay.
Let's talk. Yeah,
let's talk. So White Peacock Andy, over 1,000 watching. Smash the like, people. Yeah, make sure you do it, guys. We're on the road to 17k, so make sure you hit the subscribe button as well and keep getting your comments in. But so let's move on to Helder then. Phil Hay mentioned this morning that apparently there is that keep an eye on Helder Costa. That's what he said. And then we saw from Pete O'Rourke, who came out and said that Leeds are looking to loan out Helder Costa. Now, whether or not that's going to be to Valencia or whatever, I would potentially prefer a transfer, to be honest, with Helder Costa. I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but I think cutting ties, and wouldn't it be great if we could essentially pay for Helder Costa? Pay for Dan James with a segment of the Helder Costa money. Wouldn't that be fantastic if we could get maybe 10 million? That's a stretch, but you never know if Leeds have got a good negotiation team, which I'm sure they have in Angus Kinnear and co. So Helder Costa, Joe, is he the one that needs to leave for you during this window?
Yeah, I would say so. It's not worked out as it may. I know. I even look back at the Championship. When people say, I don't think he ever did. I don't think he ever did out in there, really, if I'm being totally honest. I can't even count on my hand, bro, because I can't remember a really great Costa performance. People might remind me, people will say Fulham because he scored a good goal. I think sometimes that can blinker people's perception of the overall performance because he scored a goal. I don't think Costa was amazing at all and never has been. And I think it's disappointing. Wolves did really well off us, to be fair, with Barry Douglas and Costa, because they both didn't really work out, did they? And we were buzzing at the time, and rightly so. Don't get me wrong. I think the club were right to bring them in. It's just obviously not worked out. I think he does need to move on for himself as well. I think, his confidence is shot. I see times where he's through, or he just doesn't want to make that killer pass, or he doesn't want to have that strike at goal. He'd rather pass it simple or give it away.
He's just not good enough, Matt, for me.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair as well. Yeah, he's just not at the level that we need, and I think how it's telegraphed at the minute at Leeds United, the substitutions. I was really surprised we didn't see him because we're so used to seeing Roberts, Rodrigo, Costa for a winger. And it's just all the same. And let's be honest, people laughed. This is when you know it's not good. I laughed. I'm assuming you did. I've seen people on Twitter when we were playing Manchester United and we were like 4-1 down, I think, at the time, or it could have even been 5, and Helder Costa came on. And we all just went, we might as well pack up. We might as well pack up. I mean, we were already done. Like if it was a boxing match, mate, white towel. That's the white towel signature.
Yeah.
That is. I hate doing this, but it is.
No.
And yeah, at least now we can look to Dan James, who will frighten, even if he is used as a sub, he will frighten defenders, frighten fullbacks. We've seen from Leeds United, we've seen it against Burnley, the amount of times we were popping balls long because we're trying to beat the press and trying to switch things up a little bit. And we know that Diego Llorente, when he's on it, can play a killer pass. I can imagine the amount of times that guy's going to play Dan James in, or Luke Ayling, and you know, he will frighten.
Calvin with the switch over the top as well.
There you go, bro. Imagine, yeah. We've seen that many times with Harrison, and Harrison will bring it down. But the thing is, the difference between Harrison and James has got pace, man. He'll just go, boom, byline. There you go, Bamford, bang, 1-0 Leeds United, Liverpool are in the mud. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. No, I can see it. I've seen some comments as well. People have said, you know, we're talking about depth, but we're letting Helder Costa go. But I think there's a big difference there. You know, it's Helder Costa, even if Helder Costa was kept and Dan James was brought in, we still wouldn't want to see Helder Costa. Like, let's be real. So what is the point? Like, there'd be no occasion where I would want Helder Costa near that first team, even as a substitute. So people talking about depth and letting him go, there wouldn't be a difference, would they, really?
This is the thing as well, Connor. This has been my point throughout the transfer window, in that people talk about depth, and I get it. I would prefer Bielsa to have a bigger squad. I would like that myself, right? But we know, and we're signed up for Bielsa, and we all are on board with it. Of course we are, because he's a genius. Yeah. But what I've always said throughout is, if you aren't going to improve the size of the squad, improve the depth, i.e. the depth that we have got needs to be stronger. And removing Costa and replacing him with Dan James is what I'm talking about, in that makes the depth stronger. Yes, it doesn't make it bigger, which some of us would like, but it makes it stronger. And I think that's key. If we look at our bench at the weekend, bro, come on. Like, no disrespect to these players, Liam McCarron, all this sort of stuff. It's like, what? It reminded me, and this is the mad thing, right? Like,
Stoke, you're going to say Stoke away, where you went?
Yo, but get this, though. Stoke away, Jordan Stevens comes on, and no disrespect to Jordan Stevens, you can't even find a League 2 club, bro. No. He went on trial, and this is what I'm saying. So that shows that sometimes, you know, and people say under 23s, da-da-da. Well, there was an example of one, and now he can't find a club. And I'm not digging him out. Well, I guess I am in a way, but you know what I'm saying, you know? So the depth isn't bigger, but it is, with Dan James coming in, stronger.
And is it fair to say as well that if we'd have got Dan James initially, we would never have gone in for Helder Costa, ever?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
he was in. This sounds horrendous, and listen, I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but I'm just talking about football wise. If you talk about recruitment and our strategy, I think he was a backup plan to Dan James. I think Dan James was always the target. We got to the summer, didn't we, afterwards, and we thought to ourselves, we need someone who's maybe sort of similar, who's got a bit of a profile in the Championship. Let's go for Helder Costa. And let's be right, Joe. We're all buzzing with it at the start. I was. I made a video on it, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, here we go. Perfect, but then you get the messages from the Wolves fans and all this sort of stuff, and
they told us, didn't they? They did tell us.
They did. Said since his injury, he's never been the same. But it's fascinating, isn't it? How we've kind of gone completely roles reversed if Costa goes and obviously James comes in.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I'm just really excited. Like, it's made the international break a little bit more bearable. Do you know what I mean? We've got Bamford in the England squad, and now we're going to be all looking and eyes peeled for the Dan James like training videos and that, and then we've got Liverpool, man, and look, maybe Costa might.
What do you reckon Wilson's going to do for the Dan James announcement?
Bro. It's going to be good, you know.
It's got to be.
I tweeted out last night, like, can you imagine the embrace between Orta and James when they see each other again? He's got to film that for me, bro. He's got to film it, because we've all watched the Amazon thing, and it was heartbreaking. You know, and people say what they want about Dan James. Some people that, you know, at Manchester United, I've seen some people say...
Joe, I always got emotional because his dad was there as well.
100%, bro.
That's what
and he's
really
a Leeds fan. His dad was a Leeds fan. He was brought up in Hull. I mean, the majority of Hull people are Leeds fans, let's be honest. They are, though, right? Liam Cooper's from Hull. He's a Leeds fan and all this sort of stuff. So, I think I think it was. Yeah, I just can imagine it's going to be a beautiful moment, mate. Like Victor, like, yo, you're back, man. I want him to have the same Parker on the lot, man. Just the same pictures. Just do the same pictures, man. It'd be class, man. I'm a romantic though, like someone said I am. I like that. And I just like the story, bro. He went there, he should have never been there, man. And then he comes back and yeah, man.
It was almost like we scouted them. We scouted him, went through the whole saga, and then out of absolutely nowhere, they signed him. And it was like, did you have? I know I might be a little bit naive here, but it was like, did you have any scouts there, or was it sort of the Leeds?
Bro, they tried to hijack the JKA deal. Let's not forget. I wish they had done now, like, but they tried to come in. They tried to come in late for that as well. So maybe Ollie's just going. Bielsa knows players. Just try sign what they're signing.
Central midfield. Anyway, there's a lot of people talking about what's going on, and this morning we've heard some rumours of Jens Kajust from Joe Wainman's Midgetland. Is apparently
Midgetland.
Yeah, I can't say. We never say Midgetland. I can't. I'm like, how do I pronounce it? Do I say Midgetland? But apologies to any Scandinavians in the chat. But Jens Kajust. Apparently, there's talks going on this morning that several Danish outlets are saying that apparently Leeds United are monitoring him and looking to put 14 million quid deal in for him. Apparently, I see the Dan James deal is completely opportunistic. Ronaldo came in, which made Dan James available. I feel, Joe, that if Jens Kajust was going to happen, or if Lewis O'Brien was going to happen, obviously Conor Gallagher was out of our hands a little bit. I think that'd have been done now, unless there's something that's happened, or there's a huge opportunity. Maybe they've brought in a player who's central midfielder, made a contingency plan, but from what I've read, they haven't, and I just can't see it getting done. Can you?
Yeah, I'm hopeful, mate. I am hopeful. It's the hope that kills you, though, isn't it? Yeah, I think I am hopeful, but like you say, we've had 31 days. 31 days to get a centre midfielder in. I say 31 days. We've had like 3 seasons of it. We tried to sign Cuisance. We tried to sign Gallagher. So
there we go, Joe. There we go, Joe. Midtjylland. There you go. Midtjylland.
FC Midgetland. Okay. But it is mad. It is mad about the centre midfield scenario because, like we say, we mentioned Cuisance and Conor Gallagher, who they'd have taken 100%. It is really interesting, like how we've not made moves, and to think we've stumped up 25 million initially for James, and then we haven't give 8 million for O'Brien. It is strange that. The Kajust one I would take 100%. I think it's quite interesting he's not gone to Brentford because their chairman owns Midtjylland and Brentford. Yeah, Midtjylland. I'll try, man. I had to think. So I thought that deal might have gone through. I don't know. I would take him though, mate, 100%. I would love another centre midfielder. But the thing is, for me, I think, which was quite telling, was, of course, Radrizzani responding to a person on Twitter who says, where's the centre midfielder? And he said, for sure, with the 3 love arts. And I think if they're sat round the table, Bielsa, like we say, doesn't just take bodies for the sake of it. Does he genuinely think that Adam Forshaw is enough and have said, look, you don't need to get me a centre midfielder. Adam Forshaw's enough. And then Radrizzani's confirmed that fact. But I'd love us to do it. I would. Because it would be, for me, then it'd be a fantastic window. Left back, winger, centre midfielder. And the club said they would do that.
Yeah. That, you're right. That'd be a top window. Yeah. I'd be really happy with that. And yeah, interestingly enough, Joe, when we're talking about the central midfield, I mentioned this last night. With the and you'll have heard this, but with the midfield, I just want to get your take on it. With the central midfield bodies, Forshaw, Click, Rodrigo, Roberts, etc. I think it's Click, Dallas, whatever. You've got a lot of moving parts in there. I'm not saying it's to the next level when we have to bring depth in and bodies in off the bench, etc. But for me, obviously the central midfield is more important than the wide options. But there is an argument there that Leeds United needed a winger more than a central midfielder. And the only reason I mention that is because there's moving parts in the middle. You know, if Leeds United have got a full squad, which is the caveat, the midfield is good, and you could say that obviously the same about the wings. You know, if you've got a full squad, it's two very, very good wingers. But when players go out, you can still move parts around. You know, we moved parts out of the weekend when, you know, Dallas had to go to left back, Click was out. It was essentially two very good midfielders out of the positions. With the wing options, Joe, Rafa and Harrison go out, then what?
No.
And literally, there's Costa, no. Somerville, who's a kid. What are your thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, no, you make a good point. That's what I mean. I think that's why, especially with the emergence of Adam Forshaw, the club have probably looked at it and said it's not as big as a need as we initially envisaged. But it's clear that they do. I think the club want one, but it has to be the right one. I think that's the thing with Bielsa, because we've seen they thought Cuisance was the right one. Thank God the medical didn't go through, because he does seem broken. I don't know where he's at now, but he's not had a great time wherever he went on loan from Bayern. You know, we tried to get Conor Gallagher. That would have been perfect. That would have been perfect for us, genuinely. So I think they do want one, but it's a case of it has to be the right one, you know. And look, for me, Lewis O'Brien, I would say 8 million, go do it. Do you know what I mean? But it's not my cash, do you know? Maybe they're hopeful that Huddersfield might come calling and say, listen, we'll take a reduced price, because he's only got a year, but then an option to make it a further year, is it? I think, Connor. But yeah, I think, like you say, we're more stacked in that area. We can move players around and put them into that position. I mean, you could argue that Calvin, even in a worst case scenario, Calvin could go in there and then we'll just put Koch in the CDM. Do you know what I mean? There is genuinely, we're stacked in that area, whereas the wingers,
just not against the top six.
No, definitely not. Please not. But I think, you know, the wingers not so much, because I said after the Burnley game, we are a few injuries away from a crisis. Because if Rafa was to get injured, and then, like you say, it'd been Costa. Whereas now I know it's only one body in the door, but I'm like, Dan James, it's another body, and it's a quality body. So yeah.
Declan Lund, do you think we could see Shaq in the midfield three? No, I think in that 3-3-1-3 as well. I mean, he's staking a claim to start for me. That right wing back sort of role, he's been fantastic, hasn't he, since his start? But yeah, I think what shirt number are you expecting for old DJ?
He's getting 7, isn't he?
Do you reckon?
Yeah,
that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Number 7.
Yeah. DJ, I liked that as well. DJ.
Yeah, I'm starting calling him DJ. You know, me and my pal DJ.
DJ7, man. Yeah, I think he gets the number 7. Yeah, definitely.
John Booth says, do a swap deal for O'Brien with Costa. It's not a bad shout, because
if they take it, mate, I would.
yeah, if they take it, exactly. And I think they might have that aura, mightn't they, Huddersfield, where we had with Wolves, where it's like, he's class, he's playing in the Premier League, then you bring him down. And Rafa in the middle, I think we'll try it. Jack Attack says, guys, I'm a Man United fan, and Dan James can pass and shoot. He scored some cracking goals. I was going through his highlight reel this morning. I was like, literally, like, some of his finishes have been unreal. And yeah, I think we know, Joe, don't we, that Bielsa's just going to take him to the next level here. I think 100%.
I can't wait, mate. I can't wait for the first game, or when he comes off the bench, mate, and just puts the afterburners on. He's got so much pace, man. It's genuinely, though. Like,
and how much is it going to improve the others around him as well?
Yeah, exactly. I think we've seen when Rafinha came in, Costa, it had the adverse effect, didn't it? But I think with the rest of the other two wingers that we've got, you know, Rafa's just tunnel vision, wants to win everything. You can imagine he's the exact same on the training pitch as well, man. Just like, boom, win. And Harrison, I don't know a better grafter. Like, do you know what I mean? I think I've always said he's the archetypal Bielsa player. Like, he'll tell him what to do and he just comes on and does his job. Do you know what I mean? A bit like a Dallas, etc. So, it's going to improve them, man. And I think he'll get a lot of goal involvements, man. There's a lot of this stuff coming saying, you know, he's rubbish, he's final ball, Adama, Traore, Alan St. Maximan. Not for me. Of course, he doesn't look as great in a Manchester United side. But as I keep saying, is they have players that are on a different stratosphere to Dan James.
I mean, when
it's true, mate.
When you've got, I think the frustration for a lot of Man United fans would be as well, Dan James starting potentially, if he, let's say he started 2 of the 3 games so far, him starting ahead of, I don't know, hypothetically, Greenwood, Martial, even Lingard and all these options. Lingard, who's done so well in the Prem as well. There's just so many of them now that when you're comparing his output to their output, it's on a different level. Whereas for Leeds, in a weird way, Joe, we're kind of used to maybe Jack Harrison missing chances. We're used to at the weekend, well, not used to, I should say, but Rafinha missing that chance against Burnley where he puts it 1-0 up and puts us 1-0 up. It's a different game. Bamford in the Championship missing chance after chance after chance. So in a weird roundabout way,
you're right.
We're expecting Dan James to not be the finished article straight away, really.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. And this is what I keep coming back to. It's like, if you look at, I keep mentioning them, but it's true, man. Bruno and Pogba. Every time Pogba gets that ball, his first time, boom, clip over the top, and Bruno's already beaten the offside trap and he's on the end of it. He did it. Do you know what I mean? And I just think if that's Dan James in them positions, he's not on that same wavelength. He's not making them same movements because he's not quite at their level. But like you say, in our club, we have some Championship players in there. I know I get stick for that, and people go, but they're playing in the Premier League, and I get that. I understand where you're coming from.
They were born in the Championship. They were born in the Championship. If they were Premier League players originally, they'd have been playing in the Premier League, and then Leeds have signed in the Championship. They were playing their trade for years and years in the Championship or lower, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. That's true, and I just think it'll be more in. They'll be more in tune, and we're a little bit more forgiving, really. Because like you say, we've seen that with Bamford. I know maybe not on social media and stuff, but in the ground he was never hammered as you would imagine. Okay, moans and groans, but the stick that Dan James has probably received has been brutal. But they have bigger expectations than what we have.
And I think just reading out a few of these comments. Thanks for your comments coming in, guys. We've got 1,250 people watching. Wow. Please subscribe to the channel. Also go.
Make sure you pop over to mine as well. Links in description.
Follow Joe's as well. But thanks for your donations, guys. I'm going to try and read them out as much as I can. I'll read Vic Vinegar's out first. Actually, should have got Willock in front of Newcastle for this money. Why? I don't know. I don't see that at all. I think Dan James fits our mold very well. And if we were going to get Joe Willock, we'd have got Joe Willock. Dead simple. I think if we'd have been there, I think we'd have probably got him ahead of Newcastle. Rodrigo and Tyler Roberts have just been used as CM attacking midfielder of late. Neither have done enough. Rafinha, though, might be perfect. Just wait and see, says Kim. And then we've got Just Troubles, Man United fan here. Happy for you guys and for Dan. Danny's such a hard worker, and I'm sad to see him go, but can't wait to see him press for the Man United fans wishing us good luck is something that I don't think I'll ever get used to be honest. But I appreciate that, mate. I really appreciate that. Peter says Jack Harrison is the next James Milner. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that, to be honest. But have you heard about this as well? Renato Sanchez going to Wolves. Some signing that.
It is, bro, but I think at club level, he's not really. He seems to be amazing for Portugal, and then at club level, I don't know. It's not really worked out for him. I remember when was it Bayern Munich sent him to Swansea on loan? Do you remember that time in the in the Premier League? Sorry, and it was like, wow, how was this pulled off? I don't know what it is. Because I seen a good friend of ours, Oscar, mentioning why on Arsenal, Liverpool, etc. And I was like, I'm not so sure because. He's a great player, don't get me wrong, but at club level, he doesn't seem to have that same sparkle that he does for Portugal. Maybe I'm wrong. He might smash it for Wolves. They need goal. I don't know what. Wolves are the new Brighton, bro. Wolves are the new XG Kings, it would seem, this season.
Yeah, you could be right there. Gilbert Walker says, why weren't we looking at Gray? I presume means Damari Gray. Gilbert, I would say before this season, everyone was calling him a flop and no one was expecting anything from Damari Gray. Suddenly he scores 2 goals and everyone thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread.
Exactly. And I've said, look, 1.5 million, what a great buy. But, and I keep caveating this, wherever he's been, he starts off like a house on fire, then drops like a stone. He did it at Leicester. He did it at Leverkusen. Hence why they sold him for 1.5 million, by the way. He started well at Everton, Will he maintain it? If he does, it's a great buy, but he might drop off soon enough.
And this is the whole Dan James thing, isn't it, Joe? When you get an Everton who were after him for 30 million, you're getting Leeds putting 30 million down, apparently interest across Europe. Everton are getting Damari Gray for 1.5 million. There was no one in for his signature. So if he's that good, why is it just Everton getting him for 1 point? It's an unbelievable bit of business. But like you said, Joe, if for the next 35 games, if he completely flops off, then it's not a worthwhile signing, is it? I mean, do you think overall, Joe, this is probably a good topic of conversation with Dan James. Do you think there's a lot of pressure on him now? We're talking about Rodrigo. The price tag's always followed him. Helder Costa, the price tag's always followed him, really. And that's what you get judged on. If we break our transfer record, which we don't know yet, we might not, but still 25 rising to 30, do you think him coming in and hitting the ground running is a pressure on him? Or do you think there's a different type of pressure to what there will be at Man United?
I think there's a different type of pressure. We have to accept that. I know not a bit, but they're on a different level, aren't they, in terms of what they're competing for? But it sounds like that he might have to do a job to win some of the fans round
already, which is annoying, Joe, because that was his problem at Man United. You've just got to give him a clean slate, really, haven't you?
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's a bit mad because, but he will have a job to do. I was a little bit concerned at one point when it was talk that he's maybe not sure on the deal because of the links and all that, but I think that was just paper talk. It seemed that as soon as it was, because like you say, he'll have a little bit of an affinity there. His dad supported us and that. This is a better move for him, man. It just makes sense. I think he realises that as well. Of course, you cannot turn down a move to Manchester United from Swansea when you're in the Championship, when they come calling. You just never do that. But I think this one now, it makes sense. And, I was worried about Leicester because they're right-hand side. They had a Jose Perez and all Brighton. And I'm thinking, if they want him, he goes there. But it seems like Leeds haven't messed about. They've not haggled. They've not nothing. They know Bielsa want him. They go, there's 25 million. We'll take him. Get him here now quick. He goes to Wales, doesn't he? I think he's on international duty. So they've not messed about with it. So I fully expect to see him very shortly in that Leeds shirt, and I can't wait, mate. Yeah, there's pressure. There's pressure with every move. Yeah, it's a big fee for what we're used to paying. But like I said near the start, this will be the going rate moving forward. We've seen it. Joe Willock, 25 million. Buendia, etc. And I think it's the going rate, and we have to get used to paying these sort of prices. Of course, there can be value done on the European market, but it doesn't always work. We've been stung by it, JKA, and if we'd have got Cuisance, we'd have been stung by that as well. So at least we know we've got someone who's coming in. He's played Premier League games, he's played European games, he's played international games at the Euros. He's ready-made. That's why I don't go along with this other talk of Somerville, etc., because I want Somerville to do amazing, but there's a step up.
Yeah, Danny Mack says, hopefully it'll be a huge success, but don't forget it'll be getting service from, on the whole, very average players. We often struggle to make unpressurized short passes, and this is the thing with Dan James as well. That's when we're talking about pressure as well. The entire team's got to improve at this moment in time, just in terms of our standards and the principles that we hold ourselves to in terms of the Bielsa methods. It can't be everyone look at Dan James go win us the game, as we sort of do sometimes with Rafinha, Joe. You look at Ayling, you look at, some people may say Cooper, Rodrigo, definitely, Helder Costa, obviously. There's got to be some players in this squad have got to take the Jamie Shackleton mould at this moment in time and really grab the game a little bit more, because I feel like there are a lot of underperformers at this moment in time, and we need to really help Daniel James out in that department if he's coming in and really hitting that top level straight away, hopefully.
Yeah, I think, you make a great point there in terms of pressure there, actually. Just going back to that, is like, in Manchester United, the onus isn't on Dan James to be the man, is it? Whereas at Leeds United, if he comes off the bench or if he's starting games, the onus will be on him, to create chances, to get in behind a lot more. Like we say, you look throughout there, Man United's attacking riches, and they have a number of game changers, Dan James being the least one, probably. Whereas at Leeds, it is a different kind of pressure, you're right, actually, because the onus is on him. I remember games last season where we got into a situation where we were just going, give it to Rafinha, like watching it. The stats and that might say different, but it looked like we were just going, just give it to Rafinha and make something happen, you know.
Yeah.
So there is a different kind of pressure that comes with that. You're right,
Yeah, definitely. Right, okay, we've been going for 55 minutes. There's 1,200 of you watching. Go check Joe's channel out. The link will be in the description below. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. It's been another transfer deadline day that it's been entertaining, hasn't it? So I mean, we're not even started yet, really. It's only 11 o'clock. But I may be back later on with the stream. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, thanks so much for joining, Joe. I really appreciate it, mate.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. And like I say, please do subscribe to my channel. I'll be going live a little bit later on as well. I know Connor will be busy working. But
on a 12-hour shift today, mate. 12-hour deadline day shift. So yeah, fun
brutal. So you'll be up to 11, is it? Like doing
12. I start at midday, mate. 12 till 12. Yeah. So
wow.
I know. Yeah. So if anyone wants any additional content as well, I will be talking to Dominic Booth, the MEN Sports editor. I'll be talking to him on Leeds United Live's page at 12:30. So go check that out. Joe, thank you so much, mate. And
Pleasure,
we'll
mate.
speak to you guys in a bit. Cheers, everyone.